So, welcome back to Flourish with Felicity. Today on the podcast, I am joined with Craig Stahlecker, a former finance professional who completely transformed his life by optimizing his testosterone after experiencing a powerful impact that proper training, nutrition, and recovery had on his energy, strength, and confidence. Craig made this mission to help other businessmen do the exact same. Now he coaches high performing men to take back control of their life, their health, and their hormones. Whether you're feeling burnt out, low on energy, this episode is for you. So, Craig, thank you so very much
Yes,
for joining with me today.
absolutely. Anytime, Felicity.
Yay, I love it. So, first and foremost, I love to ask, can you tell me a little bit more about your journey from working in finance to becoming a men's health coach? What was this turning point for you?
Oh, great question. I think I had a lot of stress and anxiety, and I wasn't in great shape. And I was really prioritizing my career and realized at the end of the day, especially throughout the transformation, that health really is wealth. And the cost of putting my health to the side was not worth the additional income, even if I was improving, my network and that sort of thing in the career sense. It just wasn't worth it for me. I've been like an athlete my whole life. I really enjoy spending time, or doing efficient but still spending time at the gym and working out. And I think that health really is wealth, and that kind of helped me to reprioritize, and throughout the transformation was able to understand things better, learn a lot, and then I feel as though if I can provide that kind of service to people, it would actually be more valuable than the investment advising or the stock trading that I was kind of providing for other professionals at the time.
No, I love the sentence health is wealth, especially because a lot of people who are in business and have this entrepreneurial mindset, they will do anything and put everything aside directly for their business or whatever they're doing for that next goal, that next vision, that next future that they have in mind. So you saying that, I was like, ooh, that hit hard to even me. And I even talked to some people I work with, two really incredible businessmen, Mike and Baker, as you know, and they go through the same thing, and I like watch it happen because we all have this vision and everything else just like it's like a shutdown
Hmm.
moment, so to
Hmm.
speak, and you're just like, I don't care about anything else. I just care about bringing in the bag or hitting that new level in your business.
Right.
um I love that sentence. So what is like the main thing that you find with businessmen currently that struggle with low testosterone today?
Yeah, the way I break it down, because everybody isn't always the same, the way I break it down is your training, your nutrition, and your recovery. So
Yeah.
recovery ties into things like lifestyle and stress management.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep is going to be key there and that sort of thing. So it does depend on the person, but a lot of times I think people are exercising, but they're not training. So the difference between the two,
Ooh.
in my opinion, or from what I've heard, is like exercising is like, all right, you're being active, you're doing it for that moment to feel, to feel better in the moment. Whereas training is you have a goal in mind. So you have
Mhm.
a structure to what you're doing, and you have progress that you're, accounting for or game planning for as you go. So to me, a lot of people are just exercising, not necessarily training towards the end of, losing weight, building muscle, boosting testosterone, etc. And
No.
then the
Yeah.
same thing when it comes to nutrition, of course.
Mhm.
A lot of times just eating and not really having a clue what's going on, or even trying to eat healthy, but they don't really understand a lot of the downsides to food that may be considered healthy, or, has good marketing on it and such. So,
Mhm. Has protein and it's like popcorn. And you're like, "Oh,
yeah.
extra 10 grams of protein here."
Yeah. Has protein though, so we're good, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's funny that you say that because it's I feel like that's such a misconception for so many individuals, like, yes, including businessmen alike, but it's just marketing nowadays is bonkers, dude.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more.
No, for sure. So speaking about like misconceptions, what is like the biggest misconception that you find that men have about testosterone and hormone health that come to you?
Mm. Biggest misconception. I think that people actually just assume that they would have higher testosterone until they get their levels checked, which
Mm,
I was in the same boat because I was like,
yeah.
oh, you know, I work out. a few times a week. I eat healthy food a few times a week. Like not every meal, but I thought I was doing all right. And I had like literally just low, like below the low measure of testosterone. And it was a bit of a wake up call for me. And I was like, maybe
Mm,
that's why some of these things aren't necessarily going my way. Maybe that's why I don't have, the drive or the energy that I had at some other points in my life, right? And
100%.
I would say that by prioritizing testosterone, to me, it's different because if you're prioritizing testosterone, that means because like cortisol is your stress hormone. So if
Mhm.
you have cortisol that's too high, you're not going to be producing enough testosterone or you're going to be limiting it, right? So to me, it's like instead of working out to like lose fat and be stressed all the time, you actually have to account for managing stress to boost your testosterone. So to me, it's more of a holistic approach as opposed to, bulking and cutting, which I'm sure you've experienced in your own life on the more of like a bodybuilding style of or approach where you just bulk and eat whatever you want as long as it has a protein or calories in it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Dirty
then
Vulcan,
cutting,
man.
yeah, and then cutting down, and you're like, ridding your body of a lot of the nutrients that you need. Whereas testosterone is fueled by things like magnesium and zinc and these other essential nutrients or nutrients that are beneficial to your overall health.
Yeah, for sure. That's so interesting that how can I ask you where did you find all of this information? Like what did you take any specific courses? What like caused you to go deep dive into all of these supplements? I'm so curious.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've read a few books. I say a few, but like I'm looking at like a massive stack. So a good amount of books. Some were just on the training side of things. So um, like lifting, more or less lifting heavier, doing sprints, doing loaded carries, like farmers carries, or loading up like stuff on your back and walking more or less,
Mhm.
or explosive jumps, more or less like high intensity things, and then still recovering well. Others that associated with hormones or books on hormone health for men that talked about intermittent fasting and possible benefits there, stuff like that. So
Mhm.
honestly reading a lot of books. I did a bunch of certifications online, which a lot of them I felt like I kind of already knew, but I was like, all right, this is a good thing to have. It gives me some more credentials because obviously I've been in finance for a little while now. So I learned through that, and then really just been doing. I mean, I've been doing research on this kind of stuff like 4 years, and
So
a lot
cool.
of the people I've been following for a very long time in the men's fitness space in general have been helpful in a sense. So, and yeah, I think it's like I would have issues myself and want to try to solve them, and a lot of these things lined up with that as a possible solution, and I feel like that can be relayed to a lot of other people as well.
Yeah, 100%. You're the perfect scenario. Like when I talk to coaches and they always ask about like, who should I work with? And I'm like, yourself. Like find people that
Right.
are like you, that you the
Yeah.
struggles that you have gone with, like
Hmm.
that needs to be the person that you work with. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. Like you were the
Hmm.
guy that was struggling, prioritizing the wealth rather than the health. Um constantly focusing on the like monetary goal rather than focusing in on yourself. And in turn, like you have probably found great success inside of focusing on your health and that in turn focused like got you
Oh,
more wealth and it
absolutely.
goes hand
When
in
I
hand.
say, yeah, like to me, like I got certified as a wellness coach and such. So I feel as though across different aspects of your wellness, your emotional wellness, your social, your financial or career, your intellectual, your spiritual,
Mhm,
even. If you have low testosterone, that's almost like a base level of being. Whereas
mhm,
if you can improve that to a higher level, then you're more likely to exceed in all of your endeavors.
absolutely.
And it comes across in, just the energy you bring to a room, the energy you bring to a workout, your risk taking when it comes to business or your career. You're gonna to me if you have very low testosterone, you're gonna be stuck in a role that you're probably not being fulfilled by. But if
Yeah.
you have higher testosterone, you're more likely to go ahead and pursue something that you care about, which is more or less what I'm doing at this point, you know?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
definitely are living the journey, and you're your best testimonial, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations through every accomplishment that you have gone through. It's
Well,
really
thank
cool
you.
to be able to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah, continue.
Well, I guess I just have more of a question because I know in terms of I guess I'm wondering what made you want to bring the podcast back because I'm sure people are listening in. They're like, "What's
Yeah.
new with Felicity? You know, what's how's this going to be different if anything, or kind of what are your thoughts on that as well?"
That's funny. You're the first person who has asked me a question on a podcast,
I'm
so
I'm a
thank you.
curious guy myself, so I like to learn things and know also how to best serve your audience. You know.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I started the podcast back up. I never wanted to stop it. It was just everything else seemed to get in the way. Like I moved and all this other stuff. I was honestly just making excuses as to why I shouldn't have podcaster like or
Mhm.
podcast hosts as
Okay.
well. And with that
Where'd you
being
move to?
said, I Dallas. I went from
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Connecticut to
Awesome. You're
Dallas.
right. Nice. That
Yep.
makes sense.
Mike is on the other side of that wall right now. The baby's
Wonderful.
right next to him.
Yeah. Love it.
But I've always loved to learn, and podcasting has always been something that I love because I love to pick people's brains, learn more about the topics that they find most interesting and the things that light them up. And if I can ask people questions and then share it with the world so that other people can learn from the people that I'm talking to, like that is the coolest thing ever.
Love it.
I am one of those people where like I know a lot of like a little bit about a lot of different things, and being able to learn more little things about a lot of other things that I didn't even know were existent. That's why I started the podcast back up because
Yeah.
I love learning.
I
I
love
can't
that.
stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I could tell by your first podcast episode where you were just using quotes from Socrates and you're talking about, finances or just, money in general and how you view the world through those different areas. I thought that was interesting as well because I just knew you through your current role,
Yeah.
which you've helped me out with
No.
on the work side of things. But
Yeah.
I just thought it was cool. And that's why podcasts are a great platform because you can have those longer discussions and talk about different topics that might not typically come up in a 30-minute call.
100%. No, for sure. And I can like dig deep on people's minds and being able to like learn what you know best too. And like I
Hmm.
love to see people talk about what they love because it's I don't know, it's just the coolest thing because everyone has their own different perspective of life, and being able to see into someone's mind for an hour, hour and a half, whatever the case may be when it comes to the podcast is again
Sure.
the coolest feeling ever. So thank you so
Yeah,
much for asking. I appreciate you.
absolutely. No, I think I completely agree. Just like hearing people like light up or like seeing their emotion change when you like bring up a topic or like, hey, this is a time when this happened. It's just cool to see.
For sure, for
And
sure. So with all of that being said, talking about testosterone, because I always found hormones very interesting because I get blood work done. I have a naturopath that helps me
Mhm.
out. My It's weird because my hormones, both of them, estrogen and testosterone, are like like ridiculously low. They're like 20,
Hmm.
30s. Like I don't know
Really?
what is going on. But it's so interesting to me the role that testosterone plays in the body. What is the most interesting fact that you have ever learned about testosterone that completely changed your perspective of hormones? Or a few facts, because you probably know a lot.
I would say one that really opened my eyes was if that having to me um, that if you have excess body fat on your
Mhm.
body, so for men, excess of 15% typically, you're
Really?
actually going to be converting testosterone into estrogen. And to me, that's just taking away from the positives of a masculine essence in a
Yeah.
sense or to me you're not that being aggressive is necessarily like 100% good in all situations, but I feel as though you need to have that when it comes to being aggressive for what you want, for who you love, for how you want to serve people.
Mhm.
Like being having that aggression is being tainted by having excess body fat and stuff like that, so you're going to be more passive, more you know laid back, more just
Mm.
I guess what's the word.
It's like complacent, I feel like that's the best
Yeah,
word that
yeah,
pops
kind
into
of
my
like
head.
listen to what others have to say instead of like deciding for yourself or going out and kind of like living life on your terms. To me, you're losing control if you are at a higher body fat percentage in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought
No,
that was interesting.
that is very interesting, especially because that couples with like there's I feel like there's two crazy epidemics that are happening in this world. Not only obesity, but the lack of
Hmm.
testosterone that
Yeah.
men have nowadays.
Hmm.
And it shows in the day to day. You can just walk down the streets and you can see people are bigger than they used to be
Mm.
100 years ago. It just
Yeah.
it's you can't be blind to it. And with that, it's really interesting to see how they couple together as well, especially for men. What is like I'm trying to figure out I had the question and I lost it, but the epidemic of low testosterone, like what role do you see that playing into the future more so? Like how
Mm.
are we going to take that tipping point and switch it or you know the answer. I'm going to let you say
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I think there will be a a greater variance in the levels of masculinity, I guess.
Understood.
Or like to me, back in the day, if most men are 10 to 20% body fat, then there's not a big variance. But if you start having guys that are like 35% body
Mhm.
fat, there's just a massive difference. And to me, the top 10% are going to reap a lot more of the rewards in a sense.
For sure.
Whether that's in a dating marketplace, in a career, and and just in general, I think that things are going to be skewed a lot more towards the higher end if things continue to be drawn out on the negative side.
Absolutely.
um, and I do have I guess a question for you,
Yeah.
because you are being a woman, you being a woman, this doesn't apply to like something you would implement, but like I think it's good to see, or it's helpful to know that you do see these kind of things
Mhm.
happening in the world. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, your take on it as well. Like, what do you see as, the drawbacks to this being being a woman?
Yeah, for sure.
Or do you think
So
it's a benefit? Like, I'm curious to like opening up the discussion on it as well.
no, no, absolutely. I do definitely believe it's a drawback. Because I mean, like I'm not in the dating scene by any means, but just knowing people who are, I feel like a lot of women nowadays are essentially not even just in the woman like the dating scene, but also in the business scene too. Like it's a positive because we're able to step it up and now we're like outdoing guys in certain aspects because of this
Hmm.
epidemic. However, at the same
Yeah.
point, it's like guys need to be that leadership role. That's what you guys are literally like caveman era have were created to be.
Right.
You're supposed to be the leader, you're supposed to be the guider. That's the role of a man. And with that being said, like it's honestly sad to see because of in my opinion,
Hmm.
because of like again guys need to have that drive, have that quote unquote aggression towards
Hmm.
achieving that higher like self so to speak. Girls should have that as well, but the guy needs to play that role bigger because that's
Hmm.
what the guys are made to do. Um hormonal wise, like not even
Yeah.
like opinionated wise.
Right. No,
But
I
yeah.
completely agree.
Mhm. That's that honestly, it's I definitely think it's a drawback just because it's going to be a constant thing unless we see a huge turning point here
Hmm.
very soon because it's just getting worse and worse day by day, year by year. It's a snowball that has not slowed down at all and
Yeah.
we could see it and
Yeah.
it needs to definitely stop.
Yeah. I would say I see, like, I have some friends that are kind of like, more or less on board, and they're more like going about it even like a natural way as opposed to getting, you know, shots or
Yeah, no, for sure.
something of testosterone. Um, and it seems like it's working out well for them as well, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel as though I feel like I lost my train of thought.
No, it's
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah, I feel like things are starting to trend in a positive direction, but it's
Mhm.
for like 10-20% of men, or,
Yeah,
people, right? Like I
100%.
feel as though the masses are still going to regress or kind of like possibly get worse, right? Like and it's to me, it's a lot of just going back to like natural practices, like getting sunlight. Like, I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but testosterone is also produced by turning cholesterol, which is often demonized,
Mm.
and turning cholesterol into testosterone via vitamin D. So if
Ah.
you're not getting sunlight and you're eating cholesterol, it could be bad for you at some point. But if you're eating high cholesterol and you're getting a lot of sun, and you're eating other things with vitamin D,
Hmm.
like wild fish, for example, right? Those things are actually going to help you produce testosterone. Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
I did not know that. That is a fun fact.
Yeah, I try to get my sunlight every day.
Yeah, no. I knew that. I mean, just like
For
the
other benefits as well, yeah, like
absolutely.
mentally.
I was just gonna say that. I was like, there's a lot of benefits that I know. Like, of course, like if you are feeling low, like bad one day, just
Yeah,
take a warm shower, read a book,
yeah,
get outside. Like just
yeah,
relax, feel good,
right,
and then get outside and get some vitamin D.
yeah,
Because it'll help with so many other processes. But I didn't realize that it's a crucial part in creating testosterone in the body or boosting
yeah.
testosterone in the body.
Oh yeah,
Wild. So
it
cool.
is cool, right?
Yeah. So I have a question pertaining to that because I know you said you get sunlight every day. What does your protocol look like to optimize your testosterone day after day?
Yeah, I mean, mine is probably a bit more than I would recommend for like everyone just starting out, right? But
Right.
typically, what I would say is try to go for a walk for a half hour a day, or get outside at least for a half hour a day. To me, that's just going to lower your stress if you're walking, especially. Get some steps in. That's going to be good for keeping that lower body fat we talked about earlier, and hopefully out getting in the sun if possible, because that'll help boost your testosterone, boost your mood. Get some sun on your skin might help how you look as well. So that's one thing. Another thing I do is I just take a half hour to do some meditation, some breath work. Might even just be like some yoga, something like that. Something that's really just like calming down, helps me center myself, lower the stress in the body.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things, like a lot of disease is truly just inflammation in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to lower that by a natural free practice to me is going to be worth a little bit of time each day. And outside of that, it's basically getting in a workout, either a high intensity workout like lifting, running, uh, playing a sport or something that I enjoy is probably like easy to recommend. If somebody's not actively in the gym and they don't want to go on the stairmaster for 45 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
go play some basketball, go play some pickleball, have a good time, get outside. It doesn't have to be cardio equipment all the time. Do something you enjoy. So yeah, I would say exercise, do something uh, to calm down, meditate, clear my head. It could be prayer for others as well, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to eat clean, most of the time. It's not going to be perfect every day, but more of the 80-20 principle on that. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. That's really cool. It's like it's simple things that it's sad that a lot of people look over because
mhm.
we typically make excuses. We just don't prioritize it, especially
Yeah,
someone who's a businessman that's focusing on
mhm.
so many other things. We don't
Yeah,
redirect our focus to these smaller goals that will actually pay a longer term benefit in our lives.
yeah,
But it's simple, but
it is. And I
very
think that's a good point. That
effective.
brings up another idea that I often come back to, and it's like the excuse that some people use to
Hmm.
do something negative or to avoid a good habit is the same exact excuse that somebody uses to do a positive habit, or create a positive change in their life. Like, oh, I have kids, I can't work out, or oh, I have kids, I need to work out for them, or
Hmm.
I work a busy job, so I you know, need to work out in the morning, or I don't work out in the morning or something like that.
Yeah,
But
100%.
I think, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like you're going to prioritize something that you truly care about. And obviously, in working in this space, I've learned in a business sense and in a fitness sense, like I always do better with a coach or with somebody that is in my corner, whether they're supporting me and with positive recognition, or constructive criticism, we could call it. As long as there is somebody else there, I feel as though we're just a lot more likely to make a positive change. And I think having, building a community, that kind of aspect, building a team, having a group of people,
Hmm.
those aspects to me are actually a lot more important than like the finite details of how many calories should I have in a day. It's like who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're the sum of the five people you're surrounded by,
Hmm.
and that's truthful 100%. And if you could put the good people that are going to build you up, whether that's positive feedback or constructive criticism, like you were saying,
Yeah.
it's you're surrounding yourself with those people that are going to push you to become better, bigger, better, bigger, better, bigger, more. Oh my gosh.
Love it.
English. Yeah. Definitely a Friday for my brain.
I hear you. No, it's all good.
I
Gave me a
love
good
it.
laugh.
No.
Yeah, I had there was a point where I hit a bunch of goals, like, because I like to do them in like different areas, like health, wealth, relationships, etc.
Absolutely.
But at a certain point, I just tried to set goals of like building relationships with people truly at the level that I wanted to be. And I found
Mm.
that like it's not like, oh, I write down that goal every day, but it's like, write that down, kind of like see where I make progress, come back a few weeks later and like
Mhm.
reassess. But I
Yeah.
found that to be very helpful, and you just become more comfortable, working at that level, or like seeing somebody that works at a high level, and it's not always just working hard but like working smart, like they're getting a lot done in 4 or 5 hours as opposed to like working 12 hours and kind of not being focused. So it's really cool to see.
No, 110%. With that, because I know that you particularly work with businessmen who are trying to achieve more or
Hmm.
become their higher self. Um,
Yeah.
do you recommend them to set any specific goals? Like, is it going to be like yearly goals or just like what does that look like?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say, absolutely. I think goals are very important. So you have a lot of times people want to set outcome goals, but what I help them to do is to set process goals, right? So you have your outcome of, losing 20 pounds, let's say, but your process goals is I'm going to work out 4 or 5 times. I like to be definite with it, so I'm going to work out 5 times a week and do 3 lifting days, 2 cardio days, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But breaking these things down into your day-to-day aspects so that you know exactly what you need to do to get to your goal, and
Hmm.
then just kind of recalibrate every week or so, or if you have an injury you can adjust. But having that plan, I think, is a lot more helpful than even just being like talented at something, or yeah, I feel as though if you can follow a plan, that's where you build the momentum, and that's where you build the self-confidence. And like for me, a lot of the reason that I feel as though I can succeed in business and then relationships is because I took ownership of my health and was able to
Mm.
build the confidence through those daily habits, those, challenges, overcoming those, or making progress in the gym, etc. So I feel as though if others can see that, they can build that confidence, with themselves, with their own mind, then they're a lot more influential in their business and in their relationships.
Yeah. One thing you brought up was the word ownership. And I love that word so very much because that's
Hmm.
ownership, not only like just that's it's like recognizing things, and it's like the way that you even speak to yourself, like you were talking about before, like if you have kids and you're not prioritizing things, it's like, well, are you taking ownership of the fact that you're telling yourself like I can't go to the gym, or is it like, oh, I need to go to the gym for my kids or whatever that long-term goal is. But I really appreciate that. Cool.
Absolutely.
Love that. So one question that I do have for you. So from your experience with working with people, can you explain one success client story that you're just like to the moon about? Because I love to talk to people about their clients and hear about all their successes. So what has been like your best success story so far with your clients?
Hmm. I think one that just comes to mind is somebody that came to me and had never lifted before.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, the wheels in my head started turning, like, I guess I have been an athlete for a while. Like, there are people that don't have gym memberships. That like
That's
that
wild.
it took me a while just to like process that. And just see, yeah, honestly, just see, I think it's because somebody that was so new to something, and like seeing it's almost like became like a kid again because it was so new to him. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everything was like, oh, this is how you do this, and then like making quick progress, but like doing silly things in the gym that like you just wouldn't, like you just would never do. I don't like. I think he like, yeah, I don't know. Like he would just put the clips like on random things in the gym, and I'm like, there's no need to do that. I don't know. I think, yeah, truly just seeing him progress in the gym
Oh,
from becoming like a complete newbie to somebody that like he could go into the gym and do his thing and like walk out like confidently and like not even need me. I think just building that awareness and like that's something that he can, you know, take with him for the rest of his life. You know what I mean?
no, 100%. You changed his life forever. You were able to teach him how to use machines and barbells and all of
Yeah.
that fun stuff. I've had a few
Yeah.
clients like that when I was an in-person trainer, and it is the most
Mhm.
like rewarding feeling to be able to get someone to the point where they feel just like okay to walk into the gym because it's
Yeah.
daunting at first. Like you
It
don't
is. It
realize.
is. I have an experience where I was like lifting a long time ago. I guess I think I was like 17 because there was a trainer at the gym that approached me. He's like, "Oh, you haven't used like your free session with a trainer yet?" And I'm like, "Ah, no, that's all right. I need to like ask my parents because I'm like, I don't know if this is like okay. I'm like not even old enough to work out here, like technically." But he was like adamant. Like he asked like four, like five times. I was like, no, no, no. He's like, yeah, come on, like let's just do it today. I've seen you been in here and stuff. And he was a bodybuilder and that sort of thing. And like I had never trained like more than probably like 5 reps on like a lift. Like I would do like my 1 rep max because that's all we were taught when we were in middle school, just push ups and like bench press and squat. But he did like some hypertrophy training. Like I was like, what's this big H word and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And like he's like, yeah, you want to use like 60%, 70% of your max or whatever and get like 10, 12 reps, something like that, right? And I just remember training with him. And then I would like normally I would like lift a little bit, go like shoot around the basketball at the court they had. And like I remember I tried to shoot the ball at the court, like from the foul line, and it literally like basically just fell out of my hand. Like my tricep was so just cooked. I was like, what did this guy just do to my arms? Like, why do I feel this way? And like I had been working out doing push-ups and stuff, but it was just like a whole different type of training. And the way he like talked to me throughout the workout, I felt like really like shifted my mindset a little bit because
Mhm.
yeah, it was inspiring to me. And like I don't even know who he is at this point, but it was like kind of like a turning point for me when it comes to like how I was working out because I would just go to the gym to like get away and like play some basketball or hang out, um, do some machines or something. But he helped me understand like how to actually grow your body and what going to failure and stuff like that is. So
That's so
that
cool. That's so funny. I
was
love the
neat.
first hypertrophy experience. I've had one of those where I had a bodybuilding
I,
coach and I was like,
I was wondering, yeah, what's your story
yeah, no,
with
I
that?
mean, I was a bodybuilder. I did a bodybuilding show. I wouldn't say I'm an
Yeah,
actual bodybuilder because I did one and I'm like,
yeah.
maybe later. Thank you.
There,
But it, I mean, just there's so many different variables when it comes to training. Like there is the
so
strength
many.
coach, there's the
Yeah.
hypertrophy coach, there's like the athletic
Hmm.
coach.
Right.
And it's really cool to be able to go through all different modalities of training.
I
But when I
agree.
did have a bodybuilding coach, it was just so unique. But yeah, no, I had that same experience where I was like, I pushed hard, but like not to the point of failure. Like what in the world is
Yeah.
going on here?
And then
Um,
I'm sure the next couple days after those first sessions with a coach, right? Just
it's
crazy
something
sore
else.
in that sense,
Something else.
I would imagine.
No, for
Yeah.
sure. When you were talking, it sounded like you're also an in-person coach as well.
I am, yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
More
good.
so recently actually.
I love that.
Yeah.
How has
Yeah, I
that
got
experience
certified a
been?
long time ago. I used to like when I first moved to Charleston, I came here with a finance job, but I didn't like that one either, I guess. So I guess that's a trend. But I ended up getting a really good like finance job that I enjoyed, but I at the end of the day, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah,
But when I first left my original job, like that I got when I moved here, I worked front desk at like a gym, and
mhm,
then I was like, oh, like you guys take personal training clients here, and I was like, let me just learn that. That's easy.
for
So,
sure.
yeah, that was my first introduction to it, and now I'm doing like group coaching for like strength based like barbell training,
Oh,
which
I
has
love
been
that.
cool, and it
So
aligns a
cool.
lot more with like what I'm focused on, like the same clientele for my online stuff as well.
Fabulous. Speaking
Yeah.
of which, when it comes to training, and because I know you're specializing in boosting testosterone, what sort of training modalities typically benefit the boosting of testosterone the most?
Lifting heavy weights.
That's
Your hormones are going to absolutely love and adapt the heaviest weight that you can actually bear. As long as
mm,
you're doing it safely and you can come back the next, a day in a day or two, or the next week, your body is going to adapt to the stress that you put on it, right?
mhm,
So if you're using resistance bands and doing curls, you know, there might be some adaptation even if you do 100 reps, which I've done countless reps and stuff like that, but I haven't experienced the same kind of improvements for a small amount of time as it takes to do some heavy lifting. So that's like your squat, your deadlift, your bench press, and stuff like that. Also, I noticed you did some deadlifts recently, and I was like,
yes.
yo, that's awesome.
Yes, I used to be a big deadlifter. I can't squat. I
Yeah.
can squat. Let me change the verbatim, like the verb there. I can squat. I'm just not as good with it. I think it's
Yeah.
because of the length. I know that the way that your body is framed, like the length of my uh oh my
Do you have
gosh, I can't
long
think
legs,
of
long
the bone.
torso?
Short torso. It's like I don't know. It's really weird. I just
Yeah.
love deadlifts. I've always loved
Nice.
deadlifts. My goal was to get to 315. At one point,
Whoa.
I got to 245. Now we're back.
Hey.
We're set back quite a bit. Because I had an ins and outs with fitness, just
Sure.
from
I hear you.
surgeries and things of that nature, life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm getting back to it. And this morning, I felt so good. I was like, even though it's not heavy by any means, I think I was doing
Right.
145. I was
Yeah.
like, that's
No,
good
as
body
long as it's
weight.
moving right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a vibe.
No, it was
Nice.
very fun. It's very
Yeah,
fun.
I've been learning more about just like how people should be positioned based on like their body structure and stuff like that. And like
Yeah.
I remember I was totally against like heavy lifting for a while because I'm like,
Interesting.
why am I going to lift anything over 225, if I could like hurt myself? But now that I see like literally like 75-year-old guys squatting 225 at the gym that I go to, and and just little old ladies in there deadlifting, I'm like, wow, this is definitely like she has like these people have great energy at an old age, and I'm like, I want to be like that when I'm older, not like
Yeah.
dragging through the day,
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And it also helps with longevity too, like in
yeah,
general.
yeah,
Like,
100%. Yeah,
I don't know if you knew this, but maybe I'll teach you something, but your grip strength is completely correlated to your lifespan. Fun
really,
fact. Yes.
your grip strength.
Yeah, because as soon as you lose your grip strength from there, like if you
Yeah,
fall, you don't
everything's
have the grip
downhill.
strength to get up and things of that nature. But I learned
Yeah,
that and I was like, that is the weirdest fun fact ever. I'm like, all right,
wild.
no more helping grips ever.
Right, right. Yeah,
I,
I've learned. I heard also like for longevity, like like your quad, like your leg strength is
yes.
also going to be helpful, which I'm sure is similar for like falling down or just like strength through your day to day, which comes into like your squat and deadlift, of course, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and I also like throughout this journey, should I say, I've done things where I'm like training very little early on, and then I almost went to a point, or I did go to a point of like overtraining and like
Mm,
not sleeping enough, and I'm like, wow, like I still don't feel great, but like I'm
yeah.
working out all the time.
Great
So
point.
it's like finding that balance, I think, is like the key. And I find that that's why testosterone is such a good measure because
Yeah.
if you're overtraining, even if you're in the gym 6, 7 days a week, but you're not giving your body enough time to recover, or you're running 5 miles a day, but you're still feeling off, or your hormones aren't necessarily like helping you to recover. Like testosterone will help your body to recover. It'll help the displacement or the where your fat is located. Like if you have really high estrogen as a man, you're gonna have man boobs, like quite
Man
literally.
boobs.
You need to, yeah, and that's not something you want. So
No.
so yeah, like I don't know. I just find it cool how it's helpful in so many ways. And like if you're under training, you're gonna have low testosterone. If you're too low of a body fat percentage, if you're at like 5%, like that's like almost unhealthy because you're not going to be producing enough testosterone.
Mhm.
And then if you're overtraining, running 20 miles and not giving your body enough time to recover, you're going to be producing cortisol. Or if you're overweight, you're going to be producing estrogen, or turning testosterone into
Yeah,
estrogen and stuff like that. So to me, it's about like finding that middle ground in a way that's sustainable, as opposed to doing these, kind of all or nothing diets that you go one way and then the other, that
100%.
aren't sustainable.
No, it's definitely a bell curve. From like what you're talking about, it's like
Hmm.
you can't be this side, you can't be this side. You have to be like and it also helps with the sustainability and just like you said balance of everything too because if you can just
Hmm.
hover right in the middle, you're going to be
Yeah,
optimal and
right.
playing into optimal.
I was gonna
Um
say that's the key word for me. I don't know if you knew
yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some signs that so like if any business guy is watching and they're like, "All right, so I'm in this position here. How do I know?" Like, do you have key signs that you look for someone who has low testosterone?
I mean, I think you'd be able to notice it. Like there's like an obvious one is like low libido. Like if your sex drive is like low. If you're honestly, if your career drive, just your drive in general, right? Like if you're like, oh, I'm kind of like looking a little thick today, a little thicker than usual, and you're like not really like caring, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like if you just have a disregard for that, or you just don't really care to improve yourself, it's almost like demoralizing, or like maybe you've
100%.
tried some things and like it can be frustrating and you're like not sure what to do next.
Mhm.
I feel like those are the times where like, like to me, if you have high testosterone, you have conviction, you have confidence, you have courage. Like, like you just keep on going, you keep on grinding in the right direction because you have
Yeah.
that energy, you know? And it's a world, like it's a world of a difference. And I feel as though your thoughts truly create your reality. So if you're down in the dumps and you have low testosterone, like you're just gonna continue to reap and sow negative habits, negative behaviors, and negative people and that kind of thing. But if you're like we said earlier, taking ownership, making sure your testosterone's in check by lifting heavy, getting outside, lowering your stress, and eating good food, then I feel like everything else around you, the people around you are going to improve, whether that's the same people or, even becoming a part of a new circle, new environment, stuff like that.
No, for sure. I know we have like I like to go to roughly around an hour, but I want to kind of do a little segue into some
Oh,
philosophy stuff because I know you're
hey.
a philosophical dude.
Yeah.
Um, but with mentioning about like geeking out on facility, philosophy, I'm trying to like wrap my name into it.
I was like, that's a
Phil-
new one.
yeah, I told you Friday brain. Talking about philosophy, do you it'll be a little bit of a segue here, but is there any specific like philosophical points that you make with your clients that you constantly bring up that really resonate that can help someone else out who's watching?
Yeah, I think a quote by one of my favorite Stoic philosophers, Epictetus.
Yes.
He says, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?"
Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, that one's good.
Because
What in
I
yeah.
feel like a lot of times people will put things off, or they'll say like almost
Mhm.
they feel as though they don't deserve the best for themselves, but it's like you need to decide that and not accept anything less, in my opinion.
110%. No, I love that. What is your personal favorite philosophical quote?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good question. I have a quote that's actually up on my wall on the other side, but it's called Thinking by Walter D. Wintle. It's pretty long, but at the end of it, he basically says, life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. So to me, it's all about your mindset. If you
Mindset.
think
Yeah.
you can do something, I believe you can. Like, self-belief, those kind of things are everything in life. So if you're, yeah, and I feel as though if you have testosterone, you're more likely to achieve those things, or at least,
Sure.
you know, I read a lot of, or I like a lot of Napoleon Hill's work. And I
Mhm.
think what he mentions early on in one of his books is like, the seed of any success is sowed by the desire that you have for it. Like you need to have the fire of desire for something for it to actually come to fruition.
Mhm.
So just having the idea or the thought or the desire for something, to me, kind of frames your life in a way. Whereas if you're making progress, then that outcome is inevitable over time. Yeah. Yeah, I like Napoleon Hill a lot. I think he has another quote about the definition of success, and he claims that it is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So if you break
I
it
like
down, the
that. Yeah.
progressive realization is basically, are you taking the steps today to get to where you want to be? So that worthy
Mhm.
ideal, that vision you have for the future. So to me, success isn't an outcome, right? It's that process goal that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Not an outcome goal, but a process. So success itself is taking those daily steps. Success is going to the gym, not, because you hit a PR, but because you said you would, and kind of keeping your word, making that progress toward a worthy ideal is actually the success itself, as opposed to delaying that success or delaying that result or that feeling until you hit a desired result. So it's more so
Mm.
in the process itself.
Yeah, it's like it's similar to the quote, "It's not about the outcome, it's about the journey." And, like,
Yeah.
you have to enjoy every step of the way, or I'm, of
Hmm.
course, butchering it, but it's something
Yeah.
of the nature. It's the same sort of concept. It's probably derived from that specific quote, but taking those steps and falling in love with the process rather than the product of
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
is
and I feel as though like if you're living in alignment with, your values or the
yeah,
things that you care about, right? Then you don't really care about the outcome at the end of the day. Like if you're enjoying it, even if it's really hard, it's like something you're passionate about, then to me the outcome doesn't really matter because you're just living like life on your purpose. You know what I mean?
yeah, which is a completely different mindset than what it seemed like you used to have when you were just, like,
Hmm.
trying to get the bag, trying to get the bag, trying to get the bag in the
Oh
finance
yeah.
space. It's
Yeah.
shifted so much.
Shifted from pleasure to purpose, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, which great way to put it, great way to put it.
Yeah.
How do you manage your clients who are businessmen in a sense of they're like, how are you like, in a sense of like, I don't even know how to ask like, they have such high financial goals, and
Mhm.
steering them not necessarily away from that, but guiding them to
Yeah.
focus on other priorities that
Yeah.
will in turn help them with those financial goals. Like, how do you
Yeah.
balance that?
For sure. That's a great question too. And it comes back to, for me, alignment or,
Mhm.
using your energy, because to me energy is everything. Like the energy you bring to something determines the result you get,
Yeah.
right? So if you're showing up after a workout where you just crushed it and you had a great meal in you, and then you're showing up to the office or you're getting on your Zoom calls or you're doing your thing, whatever that may be when it comes to business, you're going to come with level 10 energy, as
Yeah.
opposed to if you have low testosterone and you're hitting snooze on your alarm and you wake up and have a bowl of Reese's Puffs, you're coming with like level 2 energy. And that
Yes.
just, the marketplace will not
No.
reward that no matter how much you try.
Percent. No, that's a great way to reframe it because I can imagine when you speak to these businessmen, they're like, wait, wait, wait,
Mm.
wait, wait. I have to do what now?
I have to
Realign
do
my
other
goals?
things then work.
Yes, no. But it makes
Yes.
perfect sense because it
Yeah.
it wakes up your brain, it wakes up your
Hmm.
body, and then you just show up differently, not like not only for yourself but for others as well, and in turn it's going to help you drastically
Right,
achieve your end
right.
result.
And I think you said something key there is like showing up for others. So to me, part of Optimal itself is like you're not trying to be the alpha male that says, fuck you to everybody and only cares about themselves. But you're also not trying to be the beta male that like relies on others and is dependent for everything that they want in their life. But you're the optimal. You're somewhere in between
Mhm.
where you're prioritizing yourself, but at the end of the day, what you're doing is to serve others and to benefit the lives of others. So to me, that's kind of like finding that optimal level of like taking care of yourself, but not, self-sabotaging to an extent, or not, um, you know, putting off the things that you should be doing for yourself because you're only serving others, right? You need to, fill your own cup up before you fill that of others.
Yeah, it's all about the balance still, even with
Hmm.
helping yourself while helping others too.
Absolutely.
Because you can do both, but you can't just go all in on one.
You said it. You
Yeah.
said it.
Drop the mic.
Let's go.
I love it. All right. So to wrap everything up here, we talked about so much and it was so much fun. But if you could give every man one piece of advice that they could take and radically shift their next 30 days, what would that
Mhm.
be?
It would be to join a group of men that are in a position you'd like to be in, or that
Mm,
have at least a common interest. So, ways that I've done this is online, joining literally, or even forming. I've done this forming group chats or joining almost like Discord groups or something like to me you just need to have a group of men that you're competing with. So I fought for a
mm,
little while with like Muay Thai and stuff like that, and you could only, I'm sure you could imagine that's a competitive environment, but it brings the best out of you. If you're just at home doing your thing, or you're, just playing games, you're not in a environment that demands the best from you, then you're going to stay the same no matter how hard you try, I promise you. So if
yeah.
you get in an environment of other men that are like-minded, that are driven, you're going to reap the benefits of that and be able to contribute to something more than yourself.
I love that, especially because there is a lot of men out there. They're like, but I can't go out and go join a basketball group or something like that. It's like you don't need to do something in person. You could do
Right.
it online as well. That just makes you
100%.
that pulls out that competitive
Hmm.
drive that men have.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I
I
love
agree.
that. And then one other question that I have for you is what's
Mhm.
one habit that you believe that every man needs to master to become the alpha
Ooh.
male?
Hmm. I would say, and this is definitely not something I hear talked about widely, but I would
Ooh.
say visualization.
Ah,
To me,
absolutely.
visualization is such an incredible tool because it helps you truly imagine and feel the feelings of achieving your goals or being the man that you want to be. And to me, if you're not constantly and consciously putting yourself in that role, like on a daily basis, then you're going to just kind of waver and be a wanderer, or be, you're more likely to be just a bum that relies on pleasures, or falls victim to temptation. But if you're
Mm.
guided by a vision for who you want to be, then you're going to live on purpose and raise, I guess, your testosterone, or raise the level of life that you are playing at.
I that was we need to pause to take a moment for that because that was gold. Gold.
Well, I can only provide answers to the questions that you're framing. So thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And then one last thing here is where can people learn more about your work and connect with you further if they are interested?
Absolutely. Of course, of course. My personal Instagram is at Grow with Craigo. That's probably the best place to reach me. I also have the Optimal Method on Instagram. So either one of those, you can reach me. Send me a DM. Give me a follow. I'm sure we'll connect on Instagram. Let's do it.
Fabulous. Thank you so very much, Craig. This was
Of course.
such a fun podcast. I learned so much from you and like you have my gears turning. I'm like, all right, what do I need to do even just as a female
Sure.
to achieve that next level? Cuz it applies even though yes, you work primarily with men and
Hmm.
testosterone is a
Yeah.
male hormone, it's also in women. And even just listening to you talk, I'm like, oh, I need to start doing this. And this is going to increase my like just visualization. I'm like, I show up to work to essentially
Yeah.
visualize, but I'm like, there's other
Mm,
things that I need to start working on. So thank
mm.
you so much for changing my perspective of myself. And I hope that everyone who's listening and watching the replay of this gets to take some gold nuggets because I know I took many. So I
Awesome.
appreciate you.
Love it. Where all does this stream? I know you're on Spotify.
Yes, so I am on Spotify. It's gonna go to Apple Music, as well as I of course take clips. I put it on YouTube as well, so it's gonna go to all streaming platforms that I can post to.
Incredible.
Yes, yes. So it's gonna go everywhere, and then I'll tag you in everything as well that I post, so that everyone can go on ahead, follow you, and see what else you have to say. Because again, just in 1 hour, there was so many little tidbits, and I can't wait to see more.
Awesome. Yeah, and I would say anybody that listened this far, if you're thinking of becoming a guest, go ahead, check out Felicity's Instagram and apply because she does a great job as a host.
Oh, I appreciate that, Craig. That means the world. I will talk to you soon. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and thank you everyone who has listened thus far.
Awesome. Thanks, Felicity.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.